Do you know who Paul Robeson is, family? One of our modern day Renaissance men. Just did so many things at such an excellent level. Well, that's what we're talking about today, family. And we're getting started right now.
I have in the studio with me Paul Robeson, who needs no introduction. Mr. Robeson has been known and loved as an artist all over the world for many years, but he has also attracted considerable and worldwide attention in his role as a world citizen and as a person who was very deeply concerned about the society in which he lived.
It began when I was a little boy in Princeton, New Jersey, in a college town where the students mainly came from the Deep South, and my father was a minister, and I was shaped against that background.
Scholar, athlete, singer, attorney, actor, human rights activist. Paul Robeson, born in Princeton, New Jersey in 1898, was a man who played many roles throughout his long life, gaining fame and recognition for his deep baritone voice, his passionate acting in film and on stage. As a young man, he was only the third black student ever admitted to Rutgers University, earning a full academic scholarship and an All-American honors for his prowess on the football field. Later, his stage roles included Othello, both on Broadway and in a Royal Shakespeare Company production, and he starred in classic films such as The Emperor Jones, Proud Valley, and Jericho. Robeson's strong support of anti-lynching legislation, anti-racism, and his stance against McCarthyism, as well as his affiliation with communism, got him punished and persecuted in the anti-communist hysteria of the 1950s America.
The great poet of Russia is of African blood.
Let us not go so
It is
far
important
afield.
to explain this.
Did you make that statement?
When I first went to Russia in 1934...
Did you make that
When I
statement?
first went to Russia in
Did you
1934...
make that statement?
In Russia, I felt for the first time like a full human being. No color prejudice like in Mississippi. No color prejudice like in Washington. It was the first time I felt like a human being, where I did not feel the pressure of color as I feel it in this committee today.
Why do you not stay in Russia?
Because my father was a slave, and my people died to build this country. And I'm going to stay here and have a part of it just like you, and no fascist-minded people will drive me from it. Is that clear?
You are here because you are promoting the communist cause.
I am here because I'm opposing the neo-fascist cause, which I see arising in these committees.
Now, what prejudice are you talking about? You were graduated from Rutgers. You were graduated from the University of Pennsylvania. I remember seeing you play football at Lehigh. There was no prejudice against you.
Just a moment. This is something I challenge very deeply, that the success of a few Negroes can make up for $700 a year for thousands of Negro families in the South. My father was a slave, and I have cousins who are sharecroppers. I do not see success in terms of myself. I have sacrificed hundreds of thousands of dollars for what I believe in.
While you were in Moscow, Mr. Robeson, did you make a speech lauding Stalin?
I can't remember.
Have you recently changed
What
your
has
mind
happened
about Stalin?
to Stalin, gentlemen, is a question for the Soviet Union, and I won't argue with a representative of the people who, in building America, wasted the lives of my people. You are responsible, you and your forebears, for 60 to 100 million black people dying in the slave ships and on the plantations. Don't you ask me about anybody. Please.
I'm sure you wouldn't want to discuss with us the slave labor camps in the
Nothing
Soviet
could be built
Union.
more on slavery than this society, I assure you.
I would invite your attention to the Daily Worker of June 29, 1949, with reference to a get-together with you and Ben Davis, formerly communist councilman in New York. Do you know Ben
One
Davis?
of my dearest friends. He is as patriotic an American as can be, and you, gentlemen, are the non-patriots.
Just a minute.
Are the un-Americans.
The hearing is now adjourned.
I think it should be.
I've endured all of this that I can.
Can I read my statement?
No! The meeting is adjourned.
It should be.
wonderful to find about the colored peoples of the world that they were very advanced. So I would say today that I'm an American who is infinitely prouder to be of African descent, no question about it. No question about it. I'm an Afro-American, and I don't use the word American ever loosely again.
Like anyone who speaks truth to power and who rejects oppression and challenges it, Paul Robeson was seen as threatening by agents and agencies of the United States government. But he was even more threatening than most because Robeson had earned tremendous wealth and fame from his singing and acting. Paul Robeson was a world traveler, often performing sold-out concerts throughout Europe and parts of the African diaspora. That he was a champion for black people, but also workers' rights and freedom for poor white people. Robeson felt certain lines in the song depicted a black man that was ignorant, lazy, fearful, and docile. So he changed some of the words and lines around, depicting instead a strong, resistant, and optimistic black man who was constantly working to rid himself of oppression. Robeson's refusal to denounce the Communist Party and his unwavering support of African independence eventually led the government to revoke his passport in 1950. In 1958, the Supreme Court decision, Kent versus Dulles, wound up restoring Paul Robeson's passport, but by then the damage had been done. Labeled a traitor to the United States, a troublemaker, and a communist sympathizer, Paul Robeson's yearly salary dropped from $150,000 to $3,000. In 1958, Paul Robeson wrote Here I Stand, part autobiography and part political manifesto and part defense of his life's work and his political positions. Paul Robeson died at the age of 75 on January 23rd, 1976, due to complications from a stroke. Some of us will judge Paul Robeson through our contemporary lens. We'll say that he fought too much for white folk. He was too much of a communist. He was for white workers. Maybe this statement, which he prepared to read at his hearing before the House Un-American Activities Committee, will set the record straight on where his allegiance stood. The State Department has also based its denial of a passport to me on the fact that I sent a message of greeting to the Bandung Conference, convened by Nehru, Sukarno, and other great leaders of the colored people of the world. Principally, however, Dulles objects to speeches I have made abroad against the oppression suffered by my people in the United States. I am proud that those statements can be made about me. It is my firm intention to continue to speak out against injustices to the Negro people, and I shall continue to do all within my power in behalf of independence of colonial peoples of Africa. It is for Dulles to explain why a Negro who opposes colonialism and supports the aspiration of Negro Americans should, for those reasons, be denied a passport. My fight for a passport is a struggle for freedom. Freedom to travel, freedom to earn a livelihood, freedom to speak, freedom to express myself artistically and culturally. I have been denied these freedoms because Dulles, Eastland, Walter, and their ilk oppose my views on colonial liberation, my resistance to oppression of Negro Americans, and my burning desire for peace with all nations. But these are views which I shall proclaim whenever given the opportunity, whether before this committee or in any other body. Paul Robeson indeed lived a full life, one complete with victory, triumph, and also pain and persecution. He's often been misunderstood and even erased out of history. But make no mistake, Paul Robeson is one of our greatest warriors and someone whose legacy we should emulate.